If you exist, chances are you've heard about the Skibidi toilet thing. You look on YouTube and Twitter, and there's thousands of people shitting on this series that was made for little babies. Well, I'm sure you'll be happy to hear that I won't be talking about that. But seeing all this discussion about children's content got me thinking back to my own childhood. So many people above the age of 5 are looking down on Skibidi Toilet, but when you compare it to other kids' content, specifically in the 2016 to 2017 Elsagate era, it's honestly not that bad.
The camera Titan flies away, flying past two very important buildings, the Twin Towers. Notice here how it's an exact replica, straight down to the spire at the top of one of those buildings. This tells us that the events of the series predate the events of September 11th, 2001.
Oh, never mind. That's horrible. Guys, can you help me kill Skibidi Toilet? But to truly acknowledge that kids' content has always been this weird, we must turn the mirror on ourselves. Some grew up with terrible Spider-Man Elsa videos, God cleanse their souls, and some chose to watch weird animated mukbang ASMR videos. Their souls are beyond saving. But I personally grew up watching the weird Angry Birds animated mashups by FunVideoTV. And if you were a kid on the internet between 2011 and 2013, then chances are you did too. This is the story of FunVideoTV, one of the very first popular YouTube kids channels. The FunVideoTV channel, originally known as Sully's Funny Animated Clips, was created on April 22nd, 2010. If you look at his oldest video today, that being The Animal Farm with some Angry Birds 3D animated spoof FunVideoTV style, wasn't released until January 2011. But he didn't just randomly wait 9 months before posting. Looking at the end of the video, there were annotations to click his other videos, with the previews still being available to look at. His actual first video was titled Fiery Techno Trance Visualization, Techno Visuals with a Skull, and has since been lost to time. His Angry Birds obsession started with his fan-made 3D trailer from November 19th of that year. You can tell it was earlier as the animation is more simplified, and it also doesn't combine Angry Birds with other popular characters. At least, not yet. In November, he'd make another simple animation about Angry Birds, this time it's Angry Birds Space. And in December, he'd release another, this time based on Angry Birds Seasons, with a Christmas-themed video. He originally uploaded other videos besides these, but they were deleted and are now considered lost media. A notable one is this World Cup video involving the different flags of the world dancing. He also did some involving Annoying Orange. Very strange, but it was 2010, so I get it. While the channel's name was generic, the content certainly was not. In 2011, he began merging Angry Birds with other influences, like holidays, animals, and sports. But this all came to a head with Angry Birds SpongeBob, which is now sitting at well over 30 million views. The videos would all follow a pretty simple formula. They were basically a recreation of Angry Birds as if this were a mock-up of actual gameplay. The birds would use the gimmicks to attack the pigs, they succeeded, and then there's an outro card, usually involving some sort of dance. At that time, there was no such thing as customizable YouTube thumbnails. You'd be forced to choose a screenshot from the video. To get around this, the final third of any given video would be dedicated to showing the thumbnail, to include the image. This gave FunVideoTV a head start, as customizable thumbnails wouldn't be fully integrated until 2013. By December of 2011, all of the videos from the previous year were deleted, probably out of embarrassment for making videos on the Annoying Orange. The video's success would inspire him to create mashups of every IP he could make a model of. Superheroes, Twilight, Harry Potter, Angry Birds Transformers 3 years before the real game, Cut the Rope, Plants vs. Zombies, Doodle Jump, and even Mortal Kombat.
This video is a little bloodier than my usual clips, so if you're younger than, say 12, maybe you ought to watch one of my other, funnier videos instead.
Oh, surely it won't be too bad. Oh man, I watched this when I was 6 years old, and as the mashups became more and more bizarre, the formula began to change. For his Cut the Rope video, instead of modeling Om Nom, Sully chose to use a model of a dinosaur. Something pretty respectable is that he would always make the models himself rather than take from any sort of asset pack. This gave the videos their own aftermarket, off-brand style, while still having recognizable characters. For a brief time, he also had a series involving living fingers, and Nightmare Fuel aside, I think it's pretty cool that he was one of the earlier channels to make the Finger Family Fun nursery rhymes, which would become all too prominent later on. November 15th, 2012 is an important date for two reasons. One, this was his first time showing viewer suggestions in a video, and the second being that this was the release of Temple Run starring Angry Birds 3D animated game mashup. His second biggest video to date, sitting at over 80 million views. Just to compare, that's more than my entire channel. A few weeks go by, and he'd make his most popular. If you weren't around in 2012, you were missing out. The release of Gangnam Style was pretty much a worldwide event, and just by making a parody of it, multiple YouTubers were able to make viral videos of their own, with FunVideoTV being one of them. With 2 uploads released in the same month, FunVideoTV would be exposed to tens of millions of people, and pretty much every older video would see millions more. I remember around this time I would watch and rewatch these strange animations over and over again. I'm honestly shocked I don't have some sort of mental condition. September 28th, 2013 is not an important date, but it is when he released a video titled Bad Piggies Twerking? Worst Twerk Fail. Angry Birds spoof 3D animated FunVideoTV style. So I forced myself to include it in this video. This is the worst thing I think I've ever seen, but all the work he's been doing hasn't been unnoticed by the people he's parodying. In October of 2015, Rovio themselves acknowledged on their official blog that FunVideoTV was making these videos, describing them as weird and surreal, which is very true to say the least. FunVideoTV would continue to make more and more bizarre mashups. With his brand being so closely connected to Angry Birds, it only makes sense that he would also continue to make videos about new Angry Birds games as they'd release. His Angry Birds Epic video looks particularly traumatizing, but as his fame dwindled, he had to begin combining Angry Birds with trendier and trendier subjects to stay afloat. Angry Birds with .io games, Pokemon Go, even doing some merges that have nothing to do with Angry Birds. FNaF vs Fortnite, Fidget Spinner in Pac-Man, Dame 2 Casita vs T-Rex, and, in a moment of desperation, Angry Birds mixed with the Glub Glow Gab Galab.
I'm the Glub Glow Gub Galab, and I love birds. And the Glub Glow Gub Galab, the schwabble double wobble gub blah blah blah, I'm full of swibbly blip.
This video was made by a man with nothing to lose, but even with his dwindling fame, he still seemed to be doing fairly well. That was until May 3rd, 2019, when he released his final video. A maze or roller splat with Angry Birds 3D animated mashup, FunVideoTV style. As you could imagine, it was just another Angry Birds mashup involving a mobile game, just like all the ones that came before it. There was no forewarning, there wasn't even a goodbye, he just left. At this point, his most popular videos were going on 7 or 8 years old. All the 5-year-olds watching were now 12, and into other things. Something you'll notice with this and many other kids' channels is that they have a very low viewer to subscriber ratio. The videos on these channels have thousands of views, but the actual accounts only have a few hundred subs. That's because most children don't actively support the content, they just see all their favorite characters and watch the video, then just move on to the next one. FunVideoTV didn't have a very dedicated audience, and it's clear that a lot of the viewership he's getting now are from teenagers, nostalgic to relive these bizarre videos they grew up with. In October of 2022, FunVideoTV returned after not uploading in over 3 full years, releasing a YouTube short titled Remember, which showcased an old clip from a 2015 video of a 3D animated mashup. The video didn't perform all too well, with it only getting 30,000 views compared to the hundreds of thousands he'd usually get before leaving. And once again, it seems he's left without a trace. Or did he? This is a corkboard. What if I told you he was still on the internet, even uploading somewhat consistently on a channel with less than 1,000th of the subscribers? Throughout this video, I've occasionally been using these trippy psychedelic backgrounds. These were made by a small channel called Digital Video Art. And you may notice that these visuals are quite similar to the amateurish animations made by Sully. And just to put the nail in the coffin, his video on there, titled Digital Art Music Video 9 with Argo Fox Amphis Holo, contains a familiar sounding royalty-free background track. The exact same music used in the god-awful Globgo Gabgalab video from all those years ago. It seems that Sully's gone back to his roots. And FunVideoTV is no stranger to having other channels. A few years earlier, he made a science channel called Amoeba Lab, which would grow a following of about 700 subscribers before being abandoned. But oh dear viewer, the rabbit hole goes far, far deeper. Here's where the corkboard comes in. If you look in his playlists, you could find toy videos by another channel called ToysTube, which was started in January 2014. And looking at the videos, it's clear that the striking similarities in branding and style are no coincidence. In this video, you can hear Sully speaking.
What shape is this? Right. It's a square.
Making it very clear that he's the one behind both channels. Although I'd also like to point out that this also involves his wife. If you go to the featured channels, there's one called Peggy's Toy Corner, where his wife opens toys.
Hello again to Peggy's Toy Corner.
The thought of him asking her to do this is really amusing. Okay, so now we need a timeline next to the connections, cause again, there's more. FunVideoTV is clearly the earliest channel, as it started in 2010. The second channel, ToysTube, followed in January 2014. Then came Peggy's Toy Corner, which was a spin-off of the second channel, that started in May of 2015. Sometime that same year, Sully started posting to a gaming channel called Johnny Games, however, it was deleted. I suppose the Peggy Toy Corner channel didn't do all too well, as the next year they made another toy channel, Toys Fun Surprises, which largely just did the same thing. That channel also features a German channel called Spielspaz Kinderwelt, which, when translated from German, reads Play Fun Children's World. The channel had one video uploaded and was then immediately abandoned. That seems to have been the last channel for a while, as the FunVideoTV channel likely needed more and more work put into it as the animation gradually improved. This is until the channel stops uploading, which was conveniently right before the COPPA regulations were enforced in January 2020. This is probably why he stopped uploading there. If you aren't aware of it, or have forgotten, COPPA is the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act, and it basically means you can't have targeted advertising towards kids. When it was enforced, it made the vast majority of kids' content unprofitable, and comments on videos set to made for kids would be disabled, which would prevent FunVideoTV from taking the viewer suggestions that gave him his most popular videos in the first place. This meant that he needed to jump ship to something else, so after a 6-month break, he started Amoeba Lab in mid-2020, which did fairly well, although it never reached the milestone for making income, so none of these 250,000 views were monetized. This brings us to today, where he's now spending his time making music visualization videos. There's also a weird subsection of his audience that stalk this account and constantly ask him to either go back to making his old videos, or to re-release his old missing deleted videos. The story of FunVideoTV is one I'd largely call funny, maybe a little nostalgic. But above all, this story was just hecking weird, man. I'm sure Sully and his partner are wonderful people, but I think he might actually have an internal crisis whenever he sees the color red. He's made so many Angry Birds videos at this point, I'd be surprised if he didn't see the red bird whenever he sleeps. In some ways, I may even have to give credit to FunVideoTV. If I hadn't watched him as a kid, I might have not been as interested in the mobile games and characters that have given me so much success all these years later. But while I'd love to see him come back to uploading regularly, just because I think his animations are still entertaining, in the most chaotic way possible, I really just hope he's enjoying doing whatever he does now. In the comments of my YouTube Kids and Ryan videos, I've gotten a handful of comments questioning if the current generation will be nostalgic for the current schlock on YouTube Kids. And if FunVideoTV is anything to go by, the answer is absolutely yes.